My name is Justin Jander. I'm the MC and the moderator for this panel. And we're getting started. This is the last session of the day. It's a good one, and so we're excited to have a great panel discussion. With me, I have Mihiri Fonseca from Sri Lankan Airlines. She's a manager of IT business systems. We have Mario Cruz on the end from TAP, who's the head of revenue management, and Federico Macari from Virgin Atlantic, who's manager of RM as well. So, all right. So we're going to jump right in and kind of start off with the easiest question of the day, which is tell us a little bit about yourself. So we'll start on the end with Mario. If you can kind of tell us who you are, what your role is, what your responsibilities are, and how you got into the position that you're in at TAP.
Good. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Mario Cruz. From El Salvador. I started my career 20 years ago in El Salvador, in TACA, in an airline. Then after 10 years, TACA integrated with Avianca, and then I moved first to Ecuador and then to Colombia. The last 7 years before TAP, I was the head of revenue management in Avianca, and the last 1 year and a half, I am responsible for the revenue management and ancillary in TAP. With this restructuring plan for TAP, it was an interesting challenge to move a little bit the latitude, let's say, the region, even when I had international experience, but had this experience in Europe, in this market. It was a very interesting challenge. And now we are here, well, in Lisbon, developing a lot of things, working into revealed all the structure, the organizational structure, the system, working very closely with PROS. We use RMA, GSO, and RTDP, the three tools, and we have a lot of opportunities to extract the most value for this tool, and also what is coming. I mean, we will talk about the future opportunities, and we have been talking during this year about that willingness to pay, dynamic pricing, and all the future. So glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mario, and thanks, Justin. Thanks for having me here. It's a pleasure and an honor. I'm Federico, and my personal background is in production and logistics engineering. And then I started my career straight in the airline industry at our friends British Airways, where I started actually in revenue management. Both started in long haul, then I moved into the short haul team, and then still within that, within BA, I moved into network planning. There I did the opposite direction. I started in short haul, managing all the fleet at Gatwick from BA, and then I moved into, after the pandemic, I moved into long haul, looking at all the Southeast Asia markets. This was until now 2.5 years ago, where I moved on the other side of the pond to Virgin in my current role, where we sit within the pricing and revenue management umbrella, and I lead the inventory or revenue management team. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mihiri Fonseca. I'm from Sri Lankan Airlines. I'm the manager IT business systems, mainly for commercial and finance systems. I've been with Sri Lankan for the last 16 years. I've started my career as an IT business systems analyst, and from there, I came up the ladder, and now I'm a manager IT business systems. So my role is to take care of all the IT systems, innovations, business transformations, and digital transformations, maybe process re-engineering. So PROS is one of the systems which is coming under me, and that's how I came here.
Yeah, thank you all. I'm glad to have you all on the panel, and obviously a lot of different backgrounds, and that's what I think is important as we go through the questions today, to kind of get a different perspective. And obviously with Mihiri, we have a different kind of perspective from the IT side, and then different approaches from between TAP and Virgin Atlantic. So really looking forward to it. So let's dive right in. And so I'm going to state the obvious. The pandemic was tough on airlines. Okay, no surprise there. So, but one of the kind of bright sides that we heard a bit of during the coming out of the pandemic is that some airlines had a chance to evolve during that time? Invest in areas that maybe they weren't able to invest in before because you were too busy with other things. So we'll start to kind of understand, what have you invested in? And since you have the mic, we'll start with you. Can you kind of tell us what you've been investing in at Virgin, and what opportunities you looked at over the last 3 years?
Absolutely. I think at Virgin we have evolved a lot in the last 2 years and a half. I think I can say in two segments. First side is around systems, and the other side is around structure. From a system perspective, we took the opportunity of a period with obviously very low demand, together with pros, to implement RMA, GSO, and our TDP. So was so that also that we changed. We moved from a leg-based forecast to an O&D forecast, which now we're seeing all the benefits. Being able to maximize all our connecting and flow traffic, as well as make the most out of our expanded joint venture with our partners, Delta, France, and KLM. So these are from a system perspective, or from a structure perspective, and thinking about the future. We started thinking where we want to be in the next 5-10 years. And so within PRM, we created three more dedicated teams. One is looking at now at strategy, revenue strategy, and trading. That's something we didn't have before. Then we created another team looking after transformation, which obviously will enable us to develop new tools and bring them to market. And then the last one, we know the infrastructures and data are just so complex, so we created a dedicated data and insights development team. So we have changed a lot. We're completely different from what we were before, and we look out for a bright future, really.
It's great, definitely the benefit of the situation. Obviously, it wasn't good for a lot of reasons, but it created that opportunity. Mario, how about on your side? What did you look at during that time?
I think, of course, during the pandemic, all airlines suffer some kind of staff reduction. For example, the TAPS team was reduced by probably 50% of what it used to be, and probably we lost a lot of experience. So after the pandemic, the challenge is how to retrain the people on the basics of the system. So we already have the system, but now how to have the right process, retrain the team with those processes to extract the most value for your tools. I think during at the end of 2021 and 2022 was the main focus. To rebuild the process, retrain the team. And now, if you ask me, 5 years ago, or probably 10 years ago, we were thinking revenue management is to sell the right seat at the right price at the right moment to the right customer. Now, we need to think it's to build the offer for the right passenger at the right moment in the right channel, and that's the challenge. I think how to evolve not only revenue management but ancillaries. Before ancillaries, what's even not part of the revenue management I have seen ancillaries in customer service. I have seen ancillaries in e-commerce side, but recently, now ancillaries, it should be part of the revenue management because it's how you build your product or your offer now. And then how do you evolve with this kind of thing, dynamic pricing, but not only for the ticket, but for the ancillaries, and at the same time evolving your distribution capabilities, etc. I think it's the challenge for the next 5 years.
So, Mihiri, obviously you bring a different perspective from the IT side. So what kinds of things did your IT team invest in during the pandemic, and what sort of things did you look at during that time?
Yes, just to start with, the pre-pandemic, we as a country had some other issues also with the terrorist attack and all that. So it was the financial situation of the company was not so good during that time, which was continued with pandemic. So investments-wise, we were not actually very much into investments at that point. But on the technology end, we were focusing on strategies. We were planning on what sort of things that we need to do. Especially on the RM end, we had few initiatives taken in 2018, maybe with pros, because we have been with pros for a longer period. And we knew that we had to go from this legacy system to the next gen futuristic O&D-based RM solution. So we had the discussion started in 2018, but with all that financial crisis and downfall, economic and political downfall, which took place one after the other, we were not in a position to go ahead with that. So we had some surveys, pros supported us in 2018. We knew what we had to do, but we were not in a position to start that. Even migrating to cloud is something that technology-wise we've been looking forward to. We initiated a lot of things, and we identified the need for cloud-based solutions, not only for pros, not only for RM, but for all the systems that we had at that time. And post-pandemic, in 2022 only, we managed to, come back to all these things and start the work back again.
That's great, and obviously the challenges are not just on the airline side, but politically and just in the country, so it's great to hear that you're overcoming. And actually, I'll stick with you, Mihiri, for the next question, because you've just finished up where you came over the last 5 years or so in that journey. Where do you see the next 5 years going? When you look to invest in, you talked about cloud technologies and so forth, where do you see the next 5 years from an IT perspective with regards to the RM team?
Yes. Now, with all that, in 2022, we went out and we did an international competitive bidding, and we once again, pros won the bid, and now we just signed the contract with pros to start up with RMA. We kick off the project last week, so now I think we are in the correct path now. So with that, we are moving to cloud as well. So on RMN, that's what we are going to do with pros, and with cloud, we are looking forward to migrate to cloud and have data collections, data storage, analysis with new technologies like maybe NDC and IoT, which will come up in the future, next 5 years, you said. So those are the things that we are looking forward for, and with all that, I think with having cloud, we've been, from the first day onwards, we've been talking about AI. So AI will play a major role with cloud, with the other technologies coming into picture, and I suppose RMA will be the starting platform for us to continue the next 5 years.
Great, that's excellent. So Mario, how about we continue that theme? Where do you see 5 years from now RM evolving to?
It's not only revenue management, it's going to be all the ecosystem in the airline. Because at the end, if we want to build that offer, but we should build that offer for that specific customer. You have to know your customer. If for example, one passenger want to buy, it's traveling for business, probably you are not going to offer the baggage as ancillary to that passenger, because the willingness to buy that, it's nothing. If you are traveling with your family, probably you have to offer that. For the business passenger, what we have to offer is probably the fast track or the lunch, whatever. How do you know the passenger? How do you connect your CRM, let's say, with your offer, with your e-commerce, with your revenue management, to build that dynamic offer? It's what we need to work in the next 5 years to really generate more revenue.
Great. And Federico?
I think Mario touches it very well. Obviously, going forward is all about getting to know the customer better and getting in front of the customer the right offer and the right product. So that's where we're going as well. And then probably the only other piece that we will work on, that you touched a little bit, Mario, is around staffing. So we are as well around half of the people that we were before. So we need to work smarter. We need to work better, and we want to get especially the analysts to work on more strategic, high-level steering. So automation is the other big piece that we're working on, and we constantly review our processes internally in PRM, but also with all the other departments, or where we can automate and streamline.
So that's the rosy picture of where you want to go. What are the roadblocks that you're seeing? I think that's important for the audience to understand that it's not perfect, right? And I'm sure everybody from the airline side is dealing with, the goals they have set up, but what sort of roadblocks are you seeing to getting to those pieces? And then maybe a little bit about how you overcome those, if you have a way to overcome them yet.
Yeah, I think it is. We have always been here today, so I think I'm not saying anything new, right? But being a legacy carrier, all the legacy infrastructure, internal and external, like being limited by classes, or having the ability to file only hourly on ATPCO, all these things, together with internal and external systems, we're inevitably they're currently delaying the go-to-market of new solutions. On the other side, there is a lot more data that we're gathering, and I think one of the challenges that we will have is actually how to exploit all this data. And I think here is where AI, machine learning come into play, because will help us to actually make the most out of this data that we're gathering.
I think that's a great point, because obviously you have a lot of data, but then what do you do with it, right? And airlines are never short on the data because you have so many customers, so many touch points. So it's a good point on the data side of, great, you have it, but then what? And Mario, what would you add on the roadblocks?
I think it is, and it's not really, but the big challenge that the airlines are facing in a specific case in TAP, it's the technology knowledge of the complete environment of the airline. I mean, IT people for airlines are very, how do you say, few. It's a very specialized industry, and it's a very complex industry. So, and during the pandemic, what happened is that these people, because they are very demanded, basically left the companies, the airlines, that were the industry, was the industry that suffered the most. So what is missing now is this knowledge from the DS. Even if revenue management or whatever area want to implement something, because you have this lack of knowledge in the technology, it's very difficult. It's extremely difficult, and to understand this whole ecosystem and the integration between your PSS and your payment platform, and then the different thing. I think this is one of the big challenge that we will face in the next 5 years.
So obviously, Mihiri, there was a lot of systems talk in there, IT. How would do you agree with those?
Yeah, definitely. I agree with Mario. It's definitely, there was a huge demand for IT, and those who have got the domain knowledge for many years left us during COVID. So it's a huge challenge for us as well. People with the domain knowledge, we need the people with the domain knowledge to implement such systems, and knowing the airline jargon is something is very important, because everybody won't know that. So so that's a huge challenge, as not only IT, even revenue management teams, we're having an issue with that, because during COVID, post-COVID, we lost a lot of our trained RM analysts, mainly due to career path issues, as well as GCC countries had a lot of opportunities for them. So therefore, we lost a lot of trained and skilled staff. So that's one of the key challenges that we had when it comes to human resources. And also, I see one more challenge when it comes to the next 5 years, like pricing and revenue management at the moment work independently. But as you said in one of your previous sessions, we are the only industry who have mapped the pricing structure to letters from alphabet. So that is something that needs to be changed, and which is going to be a huge challenge, because industry has been living with that over so many years. So that's something that I think is as a challenge as well.
Yeah, I obviously agree, and I think that I joked in an earlier presentation that coming up with the right price is RM's job. That's pretty easy to do compared to overcoming years of infrastructure and technology. That actually sounds pretty hard to accomplish. The math seems easy at that point, but. Federico, you talked a little bit about best practices and you talked about automation from the user perspective. What are you looking at from the future to future-proof what best practices look like for a user? So we've talked a lot about AI, that kind of thing. What sort of tools are you looking at from a user side to help facilitate the future?
So from our perspective, given also the size of the teams that we have that are a lot smaller, we need to have easy visualization tools to make the analysts get decisions quickly and quicker than what they take now at every level, so from analysts on their side, but also to report upwards. Again, automation will be key, because as soon as you have a smaller team that can then implement new stuff, they cannot work on all the manual work that they're doing now. So first, you need to create the right base of work practices to then being able to implement something new. Otherwise, you end up risking of implementing something new, not being able to do what you were doing before.
What do you have in terms of like organizationally? Do you have something that for best practices? Is that something that you're focused on, where you have a team, or is that sort of done inside of the team itself?
So what we did, another role that we created after the pandemic within the pricing and the inventory team, we have one analyst per team that is not managing routes or O&Ds, but their sole role is to create best practices. One of the I think, as we all know, every analyst have their own way of managing routes and managing influences, etc. So for us, it's key, especially with people changing after the pandemic, to get the analysts to work as seamless as possible. So that's why we created this role that is in charge exactly of that. Analysts need to put influences at the same way. They need to do the same action on the same route if I do it or you do it. So that has been a really great enhancement in our teams.
Yeah, that's a good point. And revenue management, even before COVID, had a lot of turnover in the department as people, it was maybe an entry-level position. People moved out, so best practices were important before COVID. It's even more, I think, as we're coming out and the complexities increasing and so forth. So it makes a lot of sense to add that. Mario, on your side, what sort of things from best practices, and similar question on the role as well?
I think one thing that I didn't mention that we were doing after the pandemic, right after the pandemic, it's to generate, or to implement technology for reporting. In revenue management, it's very common that each of the analysts run a lot of reports, because we have a lot of data. Yes, we have a lot of data, and each of the analysts want to see their numbers in a specific way. So every single day they are running reports and they are building reports, most of them in Excel, Access, or whatever. And what we did is to implement this cloud-based technology in which you can put all your different sources of information, including your bookings, your booking curves, your bid price curves, but also your real sales information, your market share, in that platform, and build reports crossing all this data. I'm not going to say the name because it's not the purpose of this conversation, but there are these kind of solutions in the market that you can create a standard report to facilitate the decision taking of the analyst. I think this is one thing that has helped a lot in our experience, the life of the analyst. I mean, their job is not run reports; it's to analyze the report to take actions.
So once again, Mihiri, the theme of best practices seems to be data and some processes, the cloud, that kind of technology is really important in that. So how are you working from the IT side to help make sure that the infrastructure is in place to support those.
Yeah. Continuing with again what Mario said, because he's giving positive feedback on that IT, what the reporting technology had done. Even we also had, we had even pre-COVID, we had the MIS solution on Microsoft BI. So during COVID, we took the chance to enhance it, to provide more data. So it has become one of the key products in the company to provide information when it's required, real-time information, keep on improving it, providing dashboards, real-time information. So that is something that we've been doing to provide information. And apart from that, I think moving into cloud is one of the best decisions that we have taken.
All right, so we hit on a little bit before about the staffing issues. So I want to dive a little bit deeper into that. What are you doing specifically as you bring on new people? We talked with Federico, you started with that about the best practices, but what does the training program look like? What happens when you bring on a new person as an RM analyst?
So just as a background, obviously before the pandemic, we had two different teams looking after different regions of the market and then of our network, and then we moved into having only one team right now. And going back to the role that I talked before around the best practices, that's also the person that is in charge of doing the training for the new analyst. So usually the training lasts around 2 to 3 weeks. Then there is a phase of shadowing other analysts and other parts of PRM, so pricing, ancillary strategies, etc., for another couple of weeks, and then you start ramping up the number of routes that the new analyst manages. But we're taking maybe a different approach on how we started recruiting. So. We started recruiting more, looking also at the future, more analytical candidates. We have already some great links to universities in the area which we want to expand. So we really get great candidates this way. And then again, looking at the future and transitioning into offer, we see the role of the analyst, of the RM analyst, to become more of a holistic market manager instead of being a pricing, an inventory, a demand or a flight or an ancillary. So what we do with all our analyst community, we encourage them to move roles across both PRM and other departments like network planning, operations, sales, because we know that in the future, in 5-10 years, they will need to be really an airline expert rather than only the specific inventory or pricing or whatever else.
That makes sense. Mario, you've been nodding your head. What would you add to that?
No, but it's very similar what Federico was mentioning. I think to be honest, the training of an analyst, it started the same. I mean, it's the team leader coaching for a period of time. It's a shadow thing, but you take probably what analyst could take probably 1 year to really understand the whole environment of what revenue management and the purpose. So this is the challenge: bring people that can. I mean, we could have a shorter learning curve for revenue management, and it's going to be even more complex, as Federico was mentioned. We need people that not only focusing one role. We're still divided in pricing, demand, and flight analysts and ancillary, but eventually it will become offer managers. I don't know exactly what is going to be the same, but the name, but it's going to be offer manager optimization. You will get in creation, offer creation, and offer optimization. Probably, I don't know, but it's something that we need to start thinking about.
Mahiri, anything to add there?
As I mentioned, we lost a lot of skilled staff during the pandemic and post-pandemic. With this RMA implementation, we have identified the need of a strategy for the recruitment and to retain the skilled professionals. So as a government own entity, we have a lot of barriers in recruiting staff as well. So we have discussed with the senior management of having a proper strategy in place along with the RM implementation to have a team of staff and to follow up that with the training, especially with providing the tools they require, maybe the software, hardware tools, as well as the industry expert support to be taken on that. So maybe pros can help us with that.
Well, and I think it's interesting too, with more, there's sometimes having junior people can be less favorable, but maybe in some cases as it's evolving into this offer role, it's good to bring in people without the kind of old thinking, if you will, and as we're here today trying to motivate some of the new thinking, maybe that's an opportunity to start them off thinking about it in terms of offers and to the next level. So speaking of kind of where we've been talking about today and a lot about willingness to pay and offer optimization, context-specific pricing, dynamic pricing of ancillaries, where do you see some of those kind of core innovations coming into your business? And Federico, you're holding the mic again, so you get to start again. But
yeah, so obviously we look at what we can do internally. We look at what we can do with partners. But for us, is all around understanding better the customer. So we know there are a lot of applications of AI also from the operational side of things. For example, but from what RM is, there is a lot around understanding better what demand is going to be, understand better how picking up trends sooner than what we can at the moment. There is a place of being the enabler for automation, as I was saying before, so that the analysts can really work in partnership with this new technology, right? And so I think the key for us would be really to implement at the right time the right technology and but a lot of it is also when it was the same when we launched the new system will be to get the team on board. There is all this uncertainty. Yes, okay, the AI is good, but what it actually does there's the discussion that we have with our teams. So there is a lot of work on getting the teams on board from now or from when we started thinking about it, and getting the teams to be part of this evolution and part of the continuous feedback to be able to get the most out of it. You don't want to get into a fight, analyst versus AI, right? That's the worst way you can get.
So it sounds like a very measured approach. You want to make sure that you understand the technology, put it in place, and then ultimately present it to the user. And AI has been a bit popular lately about taking away jobs and things like that. Obviously, from what you just said, you don't want that necessarily, but you want it to complement the user's work. Is that?
Yeah, I think we don't believe that that is going to take away jobs in revenue management. Then definitely we know that it's going to change, but I think that's exciting. That's and also what I tell to my analysts, like, you are part of the beginning of a big revolution. So you will have skills afterwards that is going to improve your career development. So it's great to be part of it. So we need to enjoy the ride, I guess.
Yeah, that's a great perspective. And Mario, what would you add there?
I think I agree with Federico. It's a complementary thing. I mean, willingness to pay, I think it's, in our case, the next logical step. But I has mentioned to you before, and we're talking about this, is how can we use in a better way all the data that we have. We already have Mundo and Real Shopping data. How can we integrate that in our current processes, and then willingness to pay, and then dynamic pricing? I think we have to go step by step with all the challenges that we already mentioned. And yet we are already understaffed, and I think we're not going to come back to the number of analysts probably pre-pandemic. It doesn't make sense neither. I think what we need to do is to look for this automation process, help the forecast and optimization to be more automatic, more as we were mentioned yesterday. Willingness to pay, yes, it's an improvement in in the forecast and the optimization. But if something happen, still require the analyst intervention? Yes, but we can leverage this with more information from the data, the shopping data. So it will help even more to this automation.
So really complementing the user, not replacing.
It's going to be impossible.
All right, Mihiri, last bit on that. Anything else to add on there?
Yes, so we also, all these innovations that have been offered by pros, that we have been started discussions. So start with the integrations, especially on the CRM and loyalty programs, market dynamics, like competitive fairs, things like that. So all that needs to come in for the next, to go to the next level. So we have been having discussions on how, up to which extent that we can, go with the integration. And also, at the moment, we don't have a proper pricing solution. So we are working on that as well as a strategic project to implement a price management solution.
That's great. And obviously, just to kind of wrap up, I think we've heard that there's a lot of opportunity ahead, and that's clear. But then there's clearly a need for the IT side to be on board, and really putting a cohesive strategy together is important, especially when you start thinking about including AI into the mix and having a lot more data sources feeding in. You have to have that data organized. So a lot of really good points there. And so with that, that's all the prepared questions we have. We do have some time left. The panel has kindly agreed. If there are any questions, we can take them here. The mic's up here at the front, or they're of course around, and I'm sure they'd love to talk about this over dinner and a drink. And so if you're either way is fine. We're happy to take questions on either side. Or I can dance, either way. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to dance, I promise. Catch the question, yeah.
I can take this one. Yes, the short answer is yes. Is a possibility. If AI is going to enable to get the offer quicker and a better offer to the customer, then it's something that we should exploit. Absolutely. I can see that coming in the future. So it's just probably to be prepared and understand what the AI, the work from an RM perspective and the analysis would be to understand we talked about it before. I think the explainability of the AI is very key. So to understand why the AI is bringing up this type of offer. And see if the analyst agrees or not, to try to understand what's behind it, which would be key. Mario.
I was thinking in that is one thing. It's to know the customer. If you have CRM and you have a frequent customer, you know who's buying the ticket, and probably you know the preference. But I think AI will help to, if this is a new customer, and you don't know that customer, but based on the other customers' profiles, you can understand what are the preferences of this new customer. So it's a combination of a lot of things that AI can help to build in the future. And in your previous intervention is, we're not going to have RBDs anymore. I mean, the idea is to have like a offer. And regardless of if you are closing or not, because I don't know if that is going to exist anymore, but you will build that offer with the right price for that customer based on their preference. That you will not base on AI or knowing the customer.
Right. Other questions? Or certainly, again, we find these guys in dinner, and then tomorrow we'll all be around. And so I'd like to thank the panelists very much. Great discussion, so thank you very much.